With the recent burst in popularity of games such as Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, and the more serious-toned Death Stranding, the Strand genre of games, as it's now being called, is beginning to see an influx of titles from both AAA publishers and indie devs. For the uninitiated, a Strand game is where the primary focus of the game is the interactions a player has with others, whether they be NPCs or online. These are games where your main goal is to essentially act as a bridge among others by doing seemingly menial tasks such as gifting treats from your garden, delivering packages for others, or just making conversation about the day. They are games where you more often play at your own pace and, in a sense, don't always have an immediate action that needs to be taken, often lending themselves opportunities to just sit back and soak in the world you've been so casually inserted. This level of freedom and focus on seemingly menial tasks, however, means that the intricacy of the details are what so often make the experience worthwhile. The player has to have something other than the goal that makes them keep coming back for more, akin to a low-hanging fruit that tempts you in the distance. You don't have to grab the fruit, but you want to. It's this aspect that really defines the Strand genre, so much so that when it's missing, the experience feels hollow. Summer and Mara attempts to join this club of Strand games where you play as Koa, a young girl who lives on an island, caring for its plants and assortment of livestock. You begin this journey under the mentorship of your adoptive grandmother, referred to as Yaya. She teaches Koa that respect and care should be put into all things we do, and that for every action we take, we must think about how it affects the lives of others. You collect fruits and vegetables, mine rocks, cut trees, go fishing, and cook meals. You are then taught to replant trees and make offerings to the gods of Mara as thanks for the bounty you reap. However, not everything you need is on this island, and at some point you must venture forth and seek other islands to meet new people and make trades. It is here where Summer and Mara really begins to fall apart. Upon meeting your first cast of characters, you are told where to go and make way. As events unfold, you are told to speak to another villager, who asks you to collect some things as a favor, and then trade for other items, which you'll trade with another villager, who will ask you to go and collect more things, to then trade, and then fetch quest, fetch quest, fetch quest. This boils down the entire gameplay of Summer and Mara, wherein, if you don't continue the fetch quests, you'll be unable to keep playing. Because unlike typical Strand games, there isn't something for you to do that doesn't involve the quests. If you wish to kick back and go fishing, you can only do so for so long until the pond is empty. And they won't refill with more fish until you've advanced further into the story. I first imagined that it would replenish after a couple day and night cycles in the game, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Perhaps this limitation is a glitch, which sadly plagues Summer of Mara heavily. To jump straight to the point, Summer and Mara feels unfinished. This doesn't seem like a game hitting the market, but rather an early build for something that has promise. If this were an alpha build, the issue would make sense. But unfortunately, the game is shipping with a lack of polish that just comes off as lazy. There are two main interactive islands that will act as your main quest hub and interactive farm, followed by various other islands that, for the most part, feel barren and as totems of something yet to come. Their empty nature hinders the desire to explore, and the lack of any tasks makes them feel unnecessary as a whole. The world itself is also plagued with trees you can walk through, ledges to get stuck on, invisible walls, and clunky environments. Static NPCs litter the town with little more than a text balloon not relevant to your adventure. Occasionally, you'll see such NPCs on other islands, with seemingly relevant text, but without anything to entice exploration, it seems redundant, as there's no reason to explore an island, unless told to do so for another fetch quest. Fetch quests in of themselves may not be an issue, but what really becomes an issue is when the instructions are unclear. You are often told to do something with no bearings as to where or how to achieve that goal. And you are only told those instructions once, and oftentimes when you go back to the dialogue screen, you won't be able to see what was just told to you. So if you missed it, you missed it. You're often told to do something with no bearings or how to achieve it in the first place. One example is you are given a quest to go diving for a trinket lost at sea. to which the NPC has claimed to have indicated the approximate location on your map. However, when you go to look at the map, this simply isn't the case. Looking back at the quest log tells you the same. Go diving for treasure in the place indicated on your map, which then leads you to just blindly sail the seas until you come across the diving pylon yourself, because there are no markings to indicate treasure whatsoever. This may not have been an issue if the ocean itself wasn't a barren scape of sea with nothing of interest, but sadly, that's exactly it. You may see a couple barrels here and there that have random items in it, but there's nothing here for you to see. Farming, land management, and cooking are other major focuses of Summer in Mara, and sadly, it falls short here as well. Rather than be proud of the bounty you reap, you are left aggravated by latter-known mistakes you made in crops you chose to grow. If you decided to grow certain crops because they interested you, you'll likely come to find that your choices were a waste of time, as the NPCs will require different crops than the ones you have chosen. If the items they request involve a product consisting of multiple ingredients, be prepared to journey all the way to your home, view the recipe, collect the goods to make the recipe, create the item, return to the quest giver, and then repeat. A strategy that I began to adopt was to simply collect every single thing I could find and grow as many crops as I could on rotation in the hopes that I would have what I needed in stock when requested. However, an issue that quickly arises is that some items are only available through vendors until much later in the adventure. So, you're forced to sell your haul to purchase more supplies in the hopes that you haven't just sold something that you will need in the next quest. This whole process could be streamlined by allowing you to craft in different locations or fast travel, but instead you're forced to double back every time, leading to a slog of hours spent sailing in a straight line over and over and over again. Oftentimes in games, they don't require specific items in this case. You just grow what you want to grow, you make money, and you buy what you need to buy. And then sometimes they'll ask for a specific crop or a specific item to go out and mine and collect. And there's no way to know which crops you will need with a limited growing plot. It gets kind of difficult to justify this decision. The real shame here is I had very high hopes for Summer in Mara. When I first stumbled on the Kickstarter, it jumped out to me as something being right up my alley. It had a charming art style, and the idea of exploring the sea while maintaining my own island would be a dream come true, reminiscent of Wind Waker mixed with Harvest Moon. And when the campaign not only reached its modest goal of €20,000, but surpassed well into over 10 times its goal at €233,919, I believed that a strong team would be assembled to allow the creators to do something truly magnificent. Instead, it seems like little more was done that hadn't already been roughly laid out during the campaign process. Animations are stiff or non-existent, landscapes are featureless and forgettable, and the overall interactions possible boil down to menu-scaping and simple go do this, now go do that commands, coupled with dead ends and frustrating interactions. Summer in Mara is a game that echoes the issues of No Man's Sky. The bricks are being stacked, but the foundation is mud, and the supplies have run low. What could have been a charming escape to a dream world has amounted to little more than a rough demonstration of ideas. It feels more like a rushed student project rather than a full-fledged game, with the animation department pulling some serious weight. I didn't mention it until now, but the opening animated cutscene featured in this game is honestly beautiful. It gives vibrations akin to a Studio Ghibli film, and sadly stands as a reminder of what could have been. Perhaps Summer in Mara should have been an animated 2D style game, where the static features wouldn't have felt so out of place, and the art could have shined as a primary set piece instead of a dream that never was. The graphics aren't terrible in this game, but they just lack emotion. They lack a sudden life. Koa's face lays blank and just stares off into the distance. It's really sad to see because the animation in the cutscene invokes a sense of life and happiness, but when you're playing, that life is gone. It's just a shame though to see plain characters standing there waiting for you to come up to them and not really having any sort of life to it. With all that said, perhaps the developer will see this as being an early release and we'll see improvements worked in over time, as has been the case with other games in the past. Sadly though, in its current state, Summer in Mara lacks the curiosities of a Strand game, and suffers not only technical issues, but fundamental maladies including tedious gameplay, uninteresting set pieces, and a lack of inspiration. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more gaming content, please check out our channel. This has been Connor of Ubercrit, signing off.